And we should be live. I'm just gonna give it a minute until I can see that you are indeed in the chat. Welcome everyone. Let me know in the chat that you can hear me properly. We've got about 10 minutes before to start. If anyone was completely new to me, if you've just clicked on this live or on this video, we've not quite started yet. We are live from Skegness and we're waiting for everyone to connect. So we've got about 10 minutes to go. Oh, thanks Emma, that's very nice of you. So we've got, let me check. Yeah, we've got 7 minutes to be precise. You hear me and you see me well. Perfect. Thank you very much, Sarah, for letting me know. By the way, very important today because it is very windy. If at any point you start to hear wind noises that is too strong, let me know in the chat because we may... I've actually watched the video of last time I did this tour and my microphone was not plugged in properly. I could hear the wind. You know what? Let's check the microphone straight away. Most of you know the drill. I'm gonna tap the microphone 3 times. You should be able to hear 3 taps. Have you heard the tapping? Let me know in the chat. That's to check that everything is connected properly. And welcome Matthew. Welcome to Lincolnshire. Hold on to your chips. Yes, the seagulls might come and steal your chips. Happy birthday to JC then. Is that a thumbs up for the, you heard it? Perfect, lovely. Thank you very much, Pisas. And if at any point through the tour you start hearing annoying wind noises, don't be shy, let me know straight away. Because the last one actually was so bad I deleted the video from YouTube because I myself don't like to hear wind. I think it sounds quite amateurish. So, well, last time I did this too, I had every single type of technical issue possible, but the microphone was one of them. And welcome, honey. It's very, very bright today, so if at any point you ask an interesting question in the chat and I miss it, don't be shy, ask again. 3 years old. Oh, that's cute. So we've got, let me check, we've got 5 minutes to go. If any of you were completely new to me, if you were watching the replay in the next few days or weeks or months, if you want to skip the next 5 minutes, you can. We're just getting to know each other. We've got a few minutes before to officially start and go on a little walk. Let me flip this camera around to give you a little glimpse of the view. So I am on Skegness pier at the moment. It is quiet here because it's very windy. Everyone is playing at the slots machine inside the pier or on the rides or elsewhere, but maybe not on the beach because it's windy. I see the wind is actually moving the gimbal a bit. Apologies if the camera is a little shaky. It's not the gimbal going funny, it's just that it's very windy. It's often the case over here. That's why they've got all those wind turbines in the background. Let me show you. I'm actually flying off. Let me show you. Don't know if you can see them well from here, but you've got over 50 wind turbines at sea there to generate electricity. They can generate enough electricity for 300,000 people, all the population of Lincolnshire. Right, let me see what time it is. I think we've got 3 minutes to go. 3 minutes. It's very sunny, but it's actually quite cold with the wind. It feels like if the wind was coming straight from Iceland. And welcome everyone that just joined. We've got about 2 minutes to go. Sorry, it's moving. The wind is moving the camera. And welcome Tarek, that is at the Victoria and Albert Museum. Nice to have you here. By the way, guys, I am a little bit worried about the signal today, because last time I did a tour in Skegness on a bank holiday, the signal went quite bad. Although I have done it before when it was absolutely fine, so we never know. Just in case, if anyone was new to me and or new to a live in general, as you watch a replay, often when there's a signal cut, it cuts. And then it links back to the next time the signal is back. I'm just letting you know, because sometimes if you hear me say something completely random and wrong, it could be because the signal cut for like 30 seconds or whatever. I was watching the video of my tour in West Norwood Cemetery the other day, and I was talking about Sir Horace Jones, the architect of the Tower Bridge and stuff, and then I had moved on to a different grave, John Wimble, and that cut, so it sounded like I said Sir Horace Jones. He was a ship captain, but that's actually because we're missing 30 seconds or a minute there. I mean, you know, obviously Horace Jones was not a ship captain. Hi Wendy, and welcome everyone that just joined. So if you ever watch a replay and you hear those funny things, it could be because there was a micro little cut, and that could be why. Because sometimes if it cuts at the perfect spot in the sentence, it could make sense, but it could be wrong. So just to let you know, because it made me smile when I watched it. Right, so let's see. It is officially time to start. So welcome everyone. Welcome to windy Lincolnshire. We are in Skeggy, or Skegness, or Skeg Vegas, however you want to call it. Now, without further ado, let me flip this camera around to show you the view. Oops. So it's so windy. So I'm on the pier, as you can see. It's a very short pier, actually. It used to be much longer. A lot of people come here to put those little love locks. They've actually built a little cage, a little herd cage to put your locks. So you put your love in a lock and then you drop the key in the sea. Which is quite funny, because this morning I saw a guy with a metal detector, you know, looking for jewelry or all that. He's probably finding tons of little keys because of all those love locks. Thanks ever so much, Pisas. That's very much appreciated. And if any of you drop me a tip on PayPal or buy me a coffee as well, I don't see them live, but make sure you know that's very, very helpful. It is thanks to your generosity that I can do all those tours. Anyway, so the pier used to be much longer in Victorian times. At the time when it was built, I think it's 1881, it was actually one of the longest in the country. Let me show you, that's the old pier. You can see it's much longer. What happened? Well, there were two incidents. First, it was actually cut in half by a boat called Europa. There was a Dutch ship in 1919. What happened is the Dutch ship arrived and they kind of moored over here. And one of the guys from the lifeboat went to tell them, you know, it's very windy here, and with the tides, you might end up in the pier. You need to put a second anchor. and the skipper decided to ignore it. And in the morning, as they woke up, the ship had gone through the pier. Let me show you a picture of the damage. So that's the Europa there. So it had literally cut the pier in half. And they rebuilt it, and then eventually, I think it's in the 70s, there was a storm that damaged it again, and they decided to remove the end of the pier. So today it's quite short, although there are huge expensive plans to completely renew it and build it back up to their to the original lengths, really. I think I read it was 1,800 feet, something like that. So that'll be interesting, because there'll be if they did go for it, I don't think the plan has been approved yet, but they wanted to go with a huge like a glass roofing. Now I'm gonna be quite quick around here because there's music in the background, and I don't want to be getting a copyright claim on YouTube. But let me just show you quickly images of the project. That's something like this they want to build. So they want to have a glass floor and venues and space on the pier, which, to be fair, would be nice on days like this where it's very, very windy. At least we'd be able to enjoy the pier anyway. Right, I'm gonna make a move quick because I'm sure you can hear the music, but let me show you all those little locks. So they've built this one as well to have more love locks. Not sure I would want to come and put a love lock here, because if they do redo the pier, they might remove all those love locks, and then what happens to your love? Would it be bad luck, and would you break up or divorce or whatever? I'd rather put a love lock on a safe place where you know it's not going to be removed. I mean, that is if you are superstitious, of course. I think the donkeys are gone. We'll go and take a look, but they were straight ahead earlier, so I think they might have gone. There were quite a few kids having a donkey ride. To be honest, I think it might be a bit too windy now for a donkey ride. It wasn't that bad a couple of hours ago, but now it's very windy. Those donkey rides, they're not actually new. I've seen a picture that's probably early 20th century. They already had the donkeys there. Anyway, oops, apologies, it's not me, it's the wind that just moved the camera. Let me show you the rides. Right, so Skegness, by the way, today it looks very much like it did in the 60s, I guess. It looks a bit run down, to be honest. That's why it'll be nice if they did that new pier, you know, quite unique with the glass roofing, because at least they'll bring up a bit of modernity, really, in Skegness. I think people still love it because when you come here, if you used to come here as a child, well, it hasn't changed a bit. So you probably have a lot of great memories. Emma says it's a little bracing. Let me show you what Emma is referring to. I think she's referring to the Jolly Fisherman. Oh, I didn't upload the Jolly Fisherman. Oh well, we'll see him in a moment anyway, the Jolly Fisherman. There was sorry. Well, you know what? Let me show you a random photo, because otherwise I can't exit that screen for some reason. So let me show you those old images of Skegness. I don't have the Jolly Fisherman, but I'll show you in a moment. So, yes, Skegness became popular. Well, the moment the train arrived, I think it's 1878, people started to come down here to the seaside. Often they'll have those, you know, those bathing machines. Let me show you the bathing machines. You might have seen them anywhere else, like Brighton or whatever, but they were, where is my... bathing mesh. Oh, there we go. So, you know, you had those kind of mini buildings, mini homes or mini machines on horse and carriages. So you could go straight into the sea and change in the little in the little hut and preserve your modesty, you know. They were very popular at some point. You'd have some all over the seaside, really. Let me remove it. Okay. And those Victorians, you know, they didn't really always go into the sea for fun. They'd go for a swim or for a bath because they believed in health properties. Well, it's probably good for blood flow and stuff like that. But so very often they did it as some form of a cure, really. And yeah, anyway, Emma was talking about the jolly fisherman because at the beginning of the 20th century, I think it's 1908, the train company, they wanted to promote their train going from King's Cross to Skegness, and they commissioned an artist to paint a lovely picture of a jolly fisherman. And the advert was all over the newspaper and everything for a long time. It's actually probably the most famous painting he ever did. The guy is called John Hassall, and that picture became very popular. It's just a jolly fisherman jumping on the beach, and it says Skegness is so bracing. He's become a bit of a mascot now. The copyright of the thing now belongs to Skegness Council, and you see the jolly fisherman everywhere, on pretty much every single benches, or there's a pub called the Jolly Fisherman. We've got 2 statues of him. If the signal is decent, we'll go and see one of them. And yeah, he's become a bit of a mascot of Skegness, really. Now, there's one gentleman that died here in Skegness. He was involved in a scandal in the 30s. The story didn't actually start here. It started in Norfolk. By the way, in Roman times, we have some evidence that the Romans came here. They believed that there might have been a Roman ferry going straight down from here to Norfolk. It's not sure, but it's quite possible. And if you look at the map, you can definitely do that. Anyway, the guy is Harold Davidson. He was a priest, but he didn't actually start as a priest. He was a very interesting character. He came from a family of a long line of clergymen. Pretty much anyone in his family was in the church, but his personality was probably not the personality of a clergyman. He was a comedy actor, and he was involved in some performances in Soho and stuff. He had a girlfriend, Molly, but she refused to marry him at first because, you know, that wasn't a good job being a comedian, you know. At the time, you wanted to marry a good prospect and someone with a stable career. And eventually decided to follow the family tradition and to become a priest. And as a priest, he was fairly popular. He became the vicar of Stookie. Stookie, it's in Norfolk. It's next to Wales by the sea. Wales next the sea. And I say Stookie, but it's actually spelled Stifky. There are a lot of places in England that have a completely different pronunciation compared to how you spell it, which is actually great because you know, nowadays you have so many YouTube channels or podcasts or stuff that are AI voices. At least, you know, when they some of them are very well researched, but then suddenly when they say the name of the place, they say it completely wrong. So you're like, yeah, it's AI. Anyway, so he was the vicar of Stookie, and well, he was quite funny. People loved his sermons, but he was a character. He would always be late. Sometimes he'd arrive on a bicycle in the church. So he'd literally rock up on his bicycle, and he was never there during the week. He was always in London. Some people in Stookie actually said they better not die on a Monday, because by the time the vicar got back to do the funerals, the body would be rotten, you know. And well, when he was in London, his behavior was a little suspicious, to say the least. What happened, according to him, is that one day he was walking around London on a foggy night on one of the bridges, we don't know which one, and he spotted by the way, guys, if you can try to be active in the chat, so I know we've not lost the signal, because no one said anything for a few minutes, so I'm like, oh, are you still here? I think you are, but just let me know in the chat. And so yeah, he was walking across that bridge when he ran into a girl, a young girl that was about to jump in the river. She was from the countryside and she had fallen into hard times. He convinced her not to. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you very much. Because sometimes when I don't see any action in the chat, I'm like, oh, are they still there? So yeah, again, according to him, he convinced the young girl not to jump and to go back to her family in the countryside, wherever that was. And after that point, he decided to save all those girls, to help them, all those young girls, pretty young girls, always very pretty. He would never help an ugly one. He would help them not fall into prostitution, you know. He would help them find a good job, you know, instead of working in a cafe. And his way of approaching them was a bit, you know, it'd be like, hey, you must be the sister of la la la, you know, whoever, a famous actress at the time, to flatter them, and then it'd be telling them he might be able to get them a job in the theater industry, because he had some contacts, you know. He used to be an actor himself. And then he'd take them for a tea or coffee or a dinner. Sometimes he'd give them a little bit of money, and he did that for years, helping hundreds of girls. And he was also associated with St. Paul's Church, you know, the Actors' Church. We've seen it if you've been with me in Covent Garden. Oh yeah, the donkeys are definitely gone, because this is where they stand, and you had the donkey bus down here as well. So, oh, sorry, I'm just gonna show you my face. There we go, and back again, because the focus had gone. Oop. Back again. And so yeah, well, apparently he was. Today we'll call him a pervert straight away, you know. Apparently he'd go down to the actresses' green rooms and he'd be like, "Oh, sorry, ladies, I didn't realize you were changing in here. Would it be a good time to talk about Jesus?" Well, eventually his behavior came back, or the rumors of his behavior came back to the ears of his employer, the Church of England. So the Bishop of Norfolk actually filed a complaint, and he was tried, not a normal trial, but you know, a church, an ecclesiastic trial. A lot of girls were interviewed. One of them, known as Barbara Harris, she was the main accuser. She she claimed that he had told her to give herself to him body and soul, and that he had kissed her, and when she refused to him, he relieved himself, whatever that means. Maybe he had a wee. So yeah, she was the main accuser. And by the way, we talk about Skegness being like Skeg Vegas. Some stuff you can only find in Skegness. Like this place here, they were doing some cider slushies, Koppenberg, so adult slushies. There's also, this morning I was with my boss and colleagues. We went to a breakfast, eat as much as you want, like a fried, like a greasy spoons, but as much as you'd like. Again, I've never seen that anywhere else than Skegness. Well, apart from hotels and stuff, but I was in a pub. Anyway, let's go down that way to show you the lake. So yeah, he was accused of accounts of immorality. And there was a trial with the clergy and the Bishop of Norfolk and stuff. And apparently he was very cocky. He was being funny, like he was during his sermons in general. But there was one photo that resurfaced. A photo he had taken with a young girl. Again, a young girl trying to be an actress. Estelle Douglas, her name was. Well, let's say it's a bit of a compromising photo. Let me show you. I think she was 17, and I've actually cut off a little bit because I don't want to show you much bum because I don't know if I'm allowed to on YouTube. Helping those young girls. And at the trial, he claimed he had not seen that she was not wearing anything. They were doing a photo shoot to try to promote swimwear, apparently. And apparently, they said, "Oh, you cannot see her buttocks," and the Bishop of Norfolk was like, "Bum chick, you know that." He arrived with a big cigar, so like if he didn't care much, really. And he was really a showman. And of course, that did not go down well with the church, and was eventually publicly defrocked. So he lost his job for the church. Defrocked, I like that term because, well, I suppose it comes from French. To defrock someone in French, frock, it's a pair of pants, really, underwear or trousers. So to defroquer in French, it's to take your pants down. So in his case, I think it sounds quite accurate, really. Let me catch up with the chat because it was a bit bright earlier. And so yeah, he was publicly defrocked. He lost his job. He was actually quite skinned, and that's how he decided to take up again his career as a showman. He ended up first in Blackpool, where he was locking himself into a barrel with a little chimney, and he was smoking his cigars inside. He also locked himself into an ice coffin, where he was arrested for trying to take his own life, and he was jailed. But then they had to let him go because clearly there was a show, and he was anytime he had an opportunity, he would scream about all the injustice he'd been through and how he was framed by the church. And some people still claim that today. I think there was a book lately published by one of his relatives claiming that he had been framed. To be completely honest, there are some suggestion that photo might have been staged, but they probably stage it to catch him. I'm not sure he was fully innocent. Oh, you can see the lake is not very deep because the gentleman is is literally walking into it to go and get those pedalo boats. And in the back we see the clock tower. We'll go and see that a bit closer. Ashas, and welcome everyone that just joined. You've got a lot of geese as well around here, and ducks in general. And it's probably much better to do boating over here, because in the sea it'll be very wavy today. So yeah, he was in Blackpool at the time. You know, the shows that you'd enjoy on the seaside in Blackpool were a bit horrible, really. They were not really called freak shows anymore, but he was performing next to a bearded lady, and there was also someone that was morbidly obese. I mean, you know, they were still really mocking people with disabilities or funny body shapes, and eventually he turned up here to take part in a show with lions. It was called Daniel and the Modern Lion's Den. So he was doing a show here in July on the seafront. I love those old photos. So that was the entrance of the pier in the 40s, according to the sign. And right, we should be back. Let me know if you can hear me properly. I've lost you for a sec. I'll go back to what I was saying. I was saying it. So he did a show in a lion's cage, and you'd have to imagine the scene with like hundreds of kids and families watching. When at some point he stepped on Toto's tail, one of the two lions. You had Freddy and Toto. Apologies, I'm repeating myself, but I never know when it cuts, so I usually try to repeat what I've just said. And yeah, he accidentally stepped on Toto's tail, and she bit him. She bit his neck. Ironically, he was actually saved by a 16-year-old girl that stepped inside of the cage to save him. He was taken to hospital. Apparently, he's still alive at that point. He didn't die straight away. And the promoter of the show actually published something saying, "Come and see the lion that bit that attacked her." So because eventually he died in Skegness hospital. But apparently on his deathbed, before to die, he asked the nurse, "Did I make it to the front page, you know, in the newspapers?" So he was always very keen on his fame and popularity. And we'll never know for sure the extent of his perversion, but yeah, he did sound very, very dodgy to me. He was self-proclaimed the Prostitute Padre because he would help. He was convinced that all those girls would end up into prostitution, and he'd go and pick them up in a cafe or anything. They were not even on the streets most of the time. He was. There was actually a book where he was mentioned many years later. I'm gonna try to go down here to go and show you. You know what? Let's go down here if the signal is okay. I want to show you the Jolly Fisherman. So yeah, there was a book called The Age of Illusion. I've not read it, but I think it talks about the periods between the two wars. So that happened in the 30s. To give you an idea, the first Butlin was created here in Skegness in I think it's 1936. So literally the same time as the story of the Prostitute Padre. And in that book, talking about Harold Davidson, they say the Reverend Mr. Davidson's downfall was girls, not a girl, not 5 or 6 even, not 100, but the entire tremulous universe of girlhood. And on his epitaph it says, he was loved by the villagers who recognized his humanity and forgave his transgressions. May he rest in peace. So, despite all that, he was a popular man. Anyway, let me show you the Jolly Fisherman. I'm actually surprised the signal is still good over here, because that's where I had a huge signal issue last time, so that's good. It's probably because the weather is not that great, that it's not too busy, because it is a bank holiday over here in the UK. So this is pretty much the same pose he's got as he would have had on the original poster with the slogan, "It's so bracing." Now let me flip around so you can see the clock tower. So the clock tower was built to celebrate Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. It was finally opened in 1899, I think. Let me show you, there's a little plaque about one of their local heroes, Jesse Hensley. He was in the Royal Navy, into the first Antarctic expedition. I think their boat, he was at sea for a while, but their boat was stuck in the ice for a long time as well. So the man was from Skegness. Anyway, the clock tower, it's probably one of the most famous monuments in Skegness. And apparently in 1998, to celebrate the 100 years of the tower, they built, they dug up a little hole to put a time capsule. So apparently they placed a time capsule from 1988. I don't know what they put inside. I don't know if it's been published anywhere. What would you put inside? Anything from the 90s? Maybe a Game Boy. I was a child of the 90s myself, so I had a Game Boy. Maybe not the old grey ones, because those are from the 80s, I think, maybe. But I had a little Game Boy. Mine was purple, so yeah, maybe a Nintendo Game Boy. Maybe, what else did we have in the 90s? What would you put in the 90s time capsule? Let me know in the chat. And you know what? If the signal is good, let's try to go down the main street. I didn't know whether we could, but if we're still good, let's try to do that. So what would you put in the time capsule? We've got a time capsule in London as well, under the Cleopatra's Needle, you know, on the embankment. But it's much older, it's a Victorian one. I don't think we have any modern ones. I could be wrong. Are you still here? I'm not getting anything in the chat. Let me know that you're still here. It doesn't say anything about signal, so we should be all good. But uh-oh. I don't know if the chat is just stuck or if the signal is bad. I'm gonna give it a minute until you tell me that you can still hear me. This is Lumley Street. It's named after the Earl of Scarborough. He is the one that developed the area. I think I might have lost you. I'm just gonna give it a minute until you tell me you can hear me. But I've got nothing in the chat, so either I've lost the chat or either the signal has cut or something, but I'm not getting any of your messages. I'll move up a bit further up. I'll see if you... It's not telling me anything about signal, but I've got no one talking in the chat, so... I'm gonna try not to say anything of great interest until you tell me that you can hear me. Hello. I like this one. Girls just wanna have fun. Right, I think I've lost the chat, but I think you're still here because because the numbers are going up, so otherwise you'd probably be leaving the tour if you couldn't hear me. So I'm gonna keep going like if nothing happened, because I think you're still here. Right, we don't have many very old buildings in Skegness, because the town was developed in late Victorian times after the railway. But there's one building that is potentially as old as the 16th century. We know at least for sure that it's as old as the 18th century. It is a hotel and pub called The Vine. Now I'm going to show you a little video of The Vine, because it's a bit further. So let me show you the video. Where are we? This is The Vine. So it is a beautiful hotel, and guess what? It is haunted. They have a couple of ghosts, a man and a woman, and potentially the streets outside. Apparently, at some point, one of the staff had a dog, and there was one particular spot where the dog would refuse to go, like if he could see a ghost or something. So, who knows? The man ghost, some people believe that they know who it might be. What happened is that allegedly in Victorian times, there's no evidence of it at all. But it's not because we don't have any records of something that it doesn't happen. Sometimes it's just that, sometimes it's just you've got no records for one reason or another. And apparently, in Victorian times, into the brick walls of the hotel, they found a skeleton, a man's skeleton. And there was hardly anything left, but the outfit looked a bit like a uniform. There were tiny little pieces of fabric and a couple of buttons. Now let me remove the video. I'm really sorry, I don't have the chat. It's completely stuck for some reason. So there were a couple of buttons, and on those buttons they could see a royal cipher, like if it was an official uniform, like maybe someone working for Her Majesty's tax or revenue. And allegedly there was a tax officer that had disappeared in Skegness in the 18th century, because at the time you'd have a lot of smugglers, if you got caught with a lot of illegally imported tea or tobacco or whatever it might be, well, if there's only one witness, the costume officer, you might as well. The signal is gone. Oh, it's telling me that we are back, but again I've lost the chat, so I don't know whether we are back or not, and I don't know what you've heard. So I guess I'll just keep going like if nothing happened. And whenever you're back in the chat, whenever you can tell me, you'd have to tell me what you've... Anyway, that's what happened with the lady. They were paying her once a year, but she lived much longer than expected. And eventually when she died, they had the hotel, they had the property. But some say that she reappears every year, her ghost, to ask for her money. So she probably would be the second ghost. Let me cross over. I hope you hear. I'm sorry, I have no idea if you hear or not. So if I'm just talking to myself or not. The numbers show that you hear, but because the chat has gone, I have no idea if you can actually hear me. So it's a bit odd because I'm just walking up the street talking to myself probably. I won't know if the chat doesn't come back, but anyway, let's let's try to go down to the station, because I know the signal is good there because I've been there before, so hopefully. So yeah, so that was the Vine. That was the probably the most haunted building over here. There's allegedly another ghost on the street. There was an officer in the 1860s from the lifeboat, those people rescuing people at sea, and we don't know why, but he killed a friend of his in the 1860s, and that ghost is also said to be haunting the street. We don't have much detail about the ghost, but it's an interesting story anyway. This is the Wetherspoons. It was packed earlier for lunch. For those of you that are not from the UK, if you don't know what the Wetherspoons are, it's a chain of pubs that are much cheaper than an independent pub. In the Spoons you can have like a fish and chips and a pint of beer for, well, depending where you are in the UK, maybe £10, £11, when in an independent pub you'd probably pay at least double. But their big boss, Tim Martin, is an interesting character. He keeps messing with politics, and he had done a massive campaign for Brexit. Before Brexit, he was telling everyone, if we stay in the EU, you'll pay your pint of beer 3 times the price, and so on. So personally, I think he might have managed to convince quite a few people, because in the Wetherspoons pubs, they have their own magazine and stuff, and they're often a bit political, really. Anyway, I still don't know if you are here or not. The signal might be completely gone. I might be talking to myself. You might still be here just waiting for me in the chat. I don't know, but I cannot see the chat, which is a little bit worrying. The last message I have was from like 15 minutes ago, so I don't know if it's a bug, if the chat is gone, or if you're still here. It's the end of the tour anyway. I just want to cross over to show you the Jolly Fisherman, and then we'll wrap it up. Hopefully you're still here. It's weird because usually when the signal goes, it tells me the signal is gone, but it doesn't tell me anything right now. So I dare assuming that you are here. Anyway, this is another statue of the Jolly Fisherman. I hope you saw the last one. I don't know, because I think that's when the chat was already gone. So this one is not jumping around. This one is just walking. I have to say it's not my favorite statue, because look, he's stepping on a starfish. I don't know why they've done that. I don't know why the Jolly Fisherman should be stepping on a starfish. It's a bit odd. So he's clearly going on a holiday. The first poster was commissioned anyway by the railway company. So it does make sense that he would want to go and catch a train himself. So this is the station where I'm coming to catch my train in 25 minutes or so, I think. Skegness station. They used to have how do you call them? Train watchers. How do you call them? Transporters. There was one guy that was always here, but I've not seen him in the last couple of years. I hope he's okay. Ah, and that's an interesting letterbox, because there's no royal cipher. You know, usually you'd have the cipher of the monarch somewhere here. Well, no royal cipher on this one. Potentially because they had a door replacement or something. I don't know. Oh yeah, I see a cipher here. VR. It's a bit worn down, but yeah, Victoria Regina. Oh, by the way, if you see any, I'll show you something. If you see any of those signs that say ER over here in Lincolnshire, it's not for Elizabeth Regina. It's not a royal cipher, it's evacuation route. because part of Lincolnshire is actually below sea levels or at sea levels, and it's very easily flooded, or you could have a big tide and flooding. So if that happened, you could follow the evacuation route to go and drive to safety. Anyway, let me remove that. I'll just flip the camera around to say bye-bye. I have no idea if you're still here or not. Hopefully you are. I'm hoping I just lost the chat, but not the signal. Thank you for coming today. It's been a bit of a lonely tour because I didn't see the chat for the last 20 minutes. It's always a pleasure to have you along, although I don't know if you're here. And I'll see you next Monday. We're heading to Bristol, so that's exciting. I'm not ready for that one. I've bought 4 books. I've only read half of one, so I need to do a lot more research. But yeah, I'll see you in Bristol next Monday, and if not, the week after we're going back to Windsor. So that's something to look forward to as well. And thanks everyone for coming today. If any of you dropped me a little tip on PayPal or buy me a coffee or anywhere, that's very, very, very much appreciated. And if any of you were completely new to me, hope you'll subscribe and you'll join us for some more, to join us live next time. Anyway, have a great evening, a great morning, whatever time it is for you, wherever you are in the world. Bye bye.